Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday's edition of the Q Files. What a day this has been, and I'm sure that each day from this day forward will say, I long for the old days. Now, tonight, one of the top stories, and I think this is a very telling heads up, everyone, that the bomb was found again on a Spanish rail track. My question, first of all, was this designed to be almost a decoy operation, and should we look to something happening either in France or Italy in the next 24 to 48 hours? We obviously are going to be heading into what I call Resurrection Sunday. I absolutely refuse to use the word Easter, as you can tell. Easter comes from the word Astarte or Ishtar. The whole thing with the rabbit and the egg, I used to say this. I used to say, "All hail the power of Jesus' name and step on those eggs." Ladies and gentlemen, again, I think I want to make it clear that we have allowed so much travesty and nonsense to absolutely rob the vitality of the Christian, Bible-believing, God-fearing, God-obeying faith that was delivered to us by, first of all, Jesus Christ, and the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, pastors, teachers, the gifts that the Lord himself, the Lord Jesus Christ, gave to the church. Unfortunately, everybody's out with their doilies up their shirt sleeves in at least television land, and they forget what it's all about. You know, I don't have a problem with someone being wise with the Lord's money and being blessed, but I can tell you this, that the guys that keep harping the hardest and the longest, when you find out that some of these guys on the television have personal wealth, and I'm talking televangelists, of hundreds of millions of dollars. I actually used to deal with a guy who called me, and he heard me talking about this issue one time. He said, "I want you to know I'm the banker." And he said, "I fly with these guys on their private jets." And he said, "You're even underestimating their wealth, Steve." And I said, "Well, look, I'm just guessing from what I'm told, et cetera, but can you imagine what you could do to help people? Look, there would be no employment issues in this country if we didn't whore out the multinational corporations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are lost jobs, losing jobs, fear for job loss, I would like to ask you a question. Were you vocal? Were you prayerful? Were you making every effort when GATA the GATT, General Agreement on Trades and Tariffs, and NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, when those things were being proposed? I can remember doing radio talk shows night after night, saying this is the end of America as a manufacturing nation. This is the ultimate gutting of our finances. Well, to make a long story short, terrorism now is coming into the place where people have got to understand that this is a worldwide globalist, and hear the word, machination. In other words, this whole thing is orchestrated, it's scripted by the devil himself, being implicated by the devil's henchmen, and actually carried out by the devil's henchmen. I was going to say they being implicated as children of their father, the devil. Jesus made it clear. Obviously, religious people don't like to hear that, and for that they have one solution, and that's crucifixion. So now we're forced to deal with tonight, for instance, another bomb attack on a Spanish rail track. We're forced to deal with uprisings on the Temple Mount. Now, I want to make this clear to you. I believe that things are going to get so rough in the Middle East that it's going to be the key. Ask yourself this: what is so important about a tiny little sliver of land that absolutely, up until the time it's been blessed, you've got to put it into perspective, and the only way you can put that into perspective is to put it into the context of God's revelation. If it's truly the center of the universe, as some astrophysicists or Christians have declared, the center of the earth, all those different reasons, the big issue is Jerusalem's still the city of the great King. And Jesus himself is coming to rule and reign on planet Earth for 1,000 years. Now, I know all of those of you who are preterists and those of you who are dispensationalists, different attitudes, don't believe that. But the Word of God is very, very clear. Now, I want you to know, I would defy any preterist. Preterist believes that pretty much everything has already happened. To go sit in a zoo cell, I'll bring the lamb in, and it'll be you, the lamb, and the lion, and I'm not talking about any type of metaphor, and I guarantee you, when the lion's through with the lamb, you're next on the list. So the lion has not laid down with the lamb. And also, I don't see a golden age of harmony and peace, do you? Now, the New Agers can chant, and they can go to intergalactic federations of spiritual purity, and you know, they can go into any astral projected corner of the universe, but they're still not seeing the very fundamental issue dealt with on planet Earth, that is the very creation of the living God has been corrupted by an entity who is bent on its destruction. Now, back to the idea of the bomb found on the Spanish rail track. That's all introduction. Here we go. Spanish police have found an explosive device on a high-speed railway between Madrid and Seville. Interior Minister Angel Acebes has said, or maybe it's Acabas, I don't know, I'm just giving it the best shot on his name. All traffic on the line was halted after the discovery at Mosican in the Toledo area, according to reports coming from Spain. The minister later said the explosive used was similar to that contained in the 11th March bombs on Madrid trains, which killed 191 people. He said the line would reopen after it was checked kilometer by kilometer. Mr. Acebes said a new security system would soon be launched to watch over Spain's entire rail network, including armored vehicles and helicopters manned by police, soldiers, and civil guards. Stunned. The latest alert comes as Spanish police continue to pursue suspected Islamic militants for last month's train bombings. Now, remember this. The guy that just came to power in Spain was trying to blame it on, the Basque terrorists, ETA, and my, how a little bit of time changes the illusion into reality. The BBC's Katja Adler in Madrid says Spaniards have reacted in stunned disbelief at the news of another attempted bomb attack on the railway. She says the bloody images of the multiple Madrid bombings 3 weeks ago are still fresh in people's minds. Trains and motorways are packed across the country at this time of year as millions of families set off on their Easter holidays, our correspondent says. Now, bomb disposal experts found between 10 and 12 kilograms, 22 to 24 pounds of explosive resembling dynamite under the line about 60 kilometers, 40 miles south of Madrid. The explosives were connected to a detonator with a 130-meter cable. Mr. Acebes said the explosive was the same color and texture that was used in the 11th attacks. He added that it had been taken to the capital for analysis. The spokesman stated that the bomb failed to explode because it had no trigger. That suggests that those responsible may have been scared off by security guards as they were planting the bomb. He asked people not to jump to conclusions as to who might be behind the foiled attack and appealed to the Spanish public to remain calm and show confidence in the authorities. Now, I want to take you to another story, and here's where I want your input, everyone. We're going to now fingerprint Allied visitors, okay? Now, I want to ask you a question. Am I losing it? Have I been on the radio too long? Have I been exposed to too much sun? No, not in Bozeman. It's snowing. We were 75 degrees the day before, and now it's about probably 30 degrees, and it's been lightly snowing off and on. A little bit heavier snow last night, but I think I'm on the wrong planet. I think I've got to go to another planet because this is absolutely in your face. Listen to this. Tell me what's wrong with this. We've got open borders, okay, that's the first issue, but just tell me what you see, because there's something that's very sinister in what I'm going to read, and I want to see if any of you can pick it up. U.S. fingerprints Allied visitors. A U.S. requirement for visitors to be fingerprinted and photographed is being expanded to include citizens from America's closest allies. The move will affect visitors from 27 countries, including the UK, Japan, and Australia, whose nationals are able to visit the U.S. without a visa. The change in the U.S. visit program is due to take effect by the 30th of September. The program is designed to fight terrorism, but has been criticized by many, notably in Latin America. The U.S. Visitor and Immigration Status Indicator Technology, or VISIT, security system is meant to identify travelers who have violated immigration controls have criminal records or belong to groups listed as terrorist organizations by the U.S. The U.S. has been routinely fingerprinting and face scanning foreign visitors since January. But Washington decided to extend the program after determining that visa waiver countries will not meet an October deadline to introduce sophisticated passports which include biometric data and make counterfeiting virtually impossible. British authorities, for example, said they will not be able to issue the new passports with the new data such as an individual's fingerprints or iris pattern before mid-2005. Now, do you maybe get the picture here that this is a little strange, everyone, and a little unusual? And I'm amazed, okay? I'm totally amazed. When I saw that, I thought, what in the world? What good does it do, okay, to fingerprint everybody who's coming from Europe, blah, blah, blah? And obviously there are a lot of anti-U.S. people that live in London. But I want to ask you, what do you think is the real reason behind this? Now, open borders, let me share this with you. I have talked to Border Patrol agents who have sent me emails talking about certain gangs and certain terrorist organizations from Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, Islamic Jihad, Islamic Brotherhood, everything that's out there, PLA, actually tracking each one of their agents and learning where they live, where their kids go to school, where their wives go to work if they work, etc., etc. So let me ask you this. Your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, on the effectiveness of having open borders, and yet anybody that can basically, I guess, fly in through an airport or get off a cruise ship is going to be fingerprinted and i.e. or retina scanned. It seems not only hypocritical, it seems almost, how do I say this, absolutely in-your-face insanity. Now, the question is, will they provide retina scanning and fingerprint computer terminals to all the guys that work on the border that are catching, quote-unquote, the illegals? And while I'm on this subject, have you noticed that the current Republican administration is now not dealing with, how do I say this, the issue, how do I say, they're not dealing with the issue of the illegals coming across the Canadian border or coming across the Mexican border or any other borders, any way they get in. So again, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to me to get your feelings on this because I know exactly what's going on. I want to see if anybody, now here's Brian. Let's see what Brian says. Brian, he says, Steve, it means we don't know where the hell the attackers will come from. Well, that could be one. Let's go to the next one. Larry says this. That's going to be something I'll get to later, Larry, because I'm trying to find out if anybody wants to answer my question. Why would you be, how should I say this, introducing high-dollar scanning systems that cannot be introduced effectively due to the passports, at least on the British end, until 2005, where you're leaving the borders absolutely unprotected? And let me ask you this, why do you think American citizens who have fought for this country, pay their income taxes, why are they being thrown into jail without any due process? Well, basically, those who are breaking the laws of this country are allowed, basically, the freebies are allowed. Now, again, here's what I'm trying to say. There is more to this story than meets the eye. And actually, in this case, more to the story than meets my printer. My printer, before it could print out page 2 and 3, just ran out of paper, and I don't have the time to fill it right now while I'm on the air. But again, ask yourself, why is this taking place? And I think if you ask yourself that, you can understand that there is a certain group of individuals who absolutely want the destruction of this country. That's not what I'm going for. I'm going to shut up and make you guys think. So if anybody wants to take their best shot at it, please send me an email, steve777@stevequayle.com. Yep, I agree with that. That's another story. Okay, everyone, let's go on to the next story that I want to deal with. The government is warning of summer bomb plots in the U.S. Bomb plots. If I sound a little groggy today, I apologize. I was up all night watching the incredible machinations and manipulations in the precious metals market. For instance, silver last night got up to about $8.30 overseas, even though Kitco only shows it at the high at maybe 8.23. I actually saw it print on my screen, and I was on European quote services last night. And when I say last night, 2 o'clock in the morning. So then, when it opened up in the United States, silver went from about 8.28 to 8.28, all the way down to 7.98, then all the way up to 8.28. Now you'll understand what I mean is that get set for the wildest movements in precious metals that you've ever seen before. Gold closed down $5 or $6 at about 4.22. Here's a big story, everyone. Palladium went through the roof. It hit $315. Now, if you don't understand that that's a 14-month high, it's the exact chart that printed before palladium started moving up to 1,080. I commend those of you who called me today and purchased palladium. I think you're going to be handsomely rewarded. And for those of you that have already purchased it, aren't you smiling today? Now, there was an announcement by Umicore, a Belgian company, that guess what? They found a way to make a new diesel catalytic converter that uses palladium instead of platinum. Let me read this to you. This will blow your mind. Platinum Group Metals News. Belgian metals group Umicore said on Friday it had developed a new technology that allowed palladium to be used instead of platinum in diesel emission control systems. Palladium, trading around 300 an ounce, is roughly 3 times cheaper than platinum. Umicore is ready to introduce a new diesel oxidation catalyst technology, which will at this stage allow the replacement of approximately 1/4 of current platinum loadings by palladium, the metals group said in the statement. The technology was designed for passenger cars and would help make catalytically activated diesel particulate filters more popular. And that guy writes sentences like me, run long sentences. The implications of this news are very important for the long term, as it has the potential to trim platinum demand but increase palladium demand by twice as much. So what this is basically saying, everyone, is we're now seeing a technology that's out there. And by the way, the platinum and palladium technologies that are out there are absolutely necessary to everything from cold fusion, even real fusion, to fuel cell technology. And believe me, Matt Drudge on his front page today was showing fuel prices now in some place. I don't know where it was. I should have read the whole article. I just glanced at it. But it's showing $3.30 a gallon for premium. Must be San Diego or California someplace. But the point is that as fuel costs become more exorbitant, then you're going to see the cry for the fuel cell technology become even more pronounced. So for those of you that want to do your own thinking and want to get control of your financial lives, I would really strongly urge you to go on the internet on a search engine and just look up the word palladium and do a little background in platinum too. These are the rarest precious metals in the world. A lot of geophysicists, which I am not one, but I agree with their findings, believe that platinum and palladium obviously were placed on the Earth. They came here in giant meteorite strikes. That's why when you're talking about supposedly the extinction of dinosaurs, everyone also talks about the iridium levels off the coast of Cozumel, Mexico, where the big meteor was supposed to have crashed. So with the presence of iridium, platinum, and palladium, you can start to see where it's found, and you can start also to see where there were some major cometary strikes, or not only cometary, but meteorites, and even the potential for giant asteroids. Again, South Africa and certain areas in Siberia being some of the major areas where this platinum, palladium, and iridium. They're all called PGMs, platinum group metals. So again, for those of you that have listened to me, I'm just thrilled that you should be very, very happy with the increase that's going on in your metals. Now, government warns of summer bomb plots in the U.S. Terrorists might try to bomb buses and rail lines in major U.S. cities this summer, according to a government bulletin issued to law enforcement officials nationwide. The FBI and Homeland Security sent out a bulletin Thursday night saying terrorists could attempt to conceal explosives in luggage and carry-on bags such as duffel bags and backpacks. The bulletin cites uncorroborated intelligence as indicating that such bombs could be made of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and diesel fuel, similar to what was used to blow up the Oklahoma City Federal Building in April 1995. A senior federal law enforcement official, now here's my favorite statement in the whole world, speaking on condition of anonymity, said recent interest coupled with the deadly March commuter train bombings in Madrid have increased the level of concern about a potential attack in the United States. The bulletin did not specify a particular city that might be targeted. So another heads up, look what's coming our way. Now, in case you didn't know it, today on Temple Mount in the Middle East, there was rioting. The Israeli police were brought in, and I guess about 2,000 rioters were finally dispersed. But I think this, again, rumblings on the mountain, events taking place of biblical significance, of historic proportions, of prophetic, prophetic presentation to the world. And again, a little place over there saying, you know, what's so important about this piece of real estate? Let's see what this says. John, he says, he said, he's from Dallas. Thank you, John. He said, I can run down the street and find 4 or 5 aliens in less than a minute. You are not nuts, John, okay? Thank you. Let's go to here. Answer to question. Eddie says this. Okay, he says, it's time for the mark of the beast, and all this scanning equipment is prepped for it. I would say that's part of the answer, but it's not the answer I'm looking to, okay? See if Greg's got it. The agenda is detailed in Al Cuppett's book, America Sold Out. By the way, did you get your copy? I mailed you. Yes, I did. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Al Cuppett, let me just talk to you about Al. I named Al Cuppett Mr. C, C as in Charlie. Most people thought his name was Mr. C, as like in the ocean sea, S-E-A. And Al and I did a number of interviews through the years. It was always my goal to keep his identity, how do I say this, concealed for his sake as long as I could. Al has done a marvelous job on giving us a former Defense Department official's view of things. And so it's kind of funny when I see Al's name, it's really important to put into perspective. Al and I were the ones that talked about the red list, the blue list, the green list. He is very up on what everything on everything that's going on, pretty much. And by the way, they've got a website now, and let me give it to you. He said, let's see, you can go to www.americasoldout.com. www.americasoldout.com. One more time, www.americasoldout.com. And you can read Al's book. Now, Al was one of my favorite guests, and you know, he then went on to speaking tours around the country, and a lot of different information streams have come from him over the years. And so I would encourage everybody, again, to get a copy of Al's book, especially those of you that remember my interviews with Mr. C, because it was absolutely an astonishing, I guess you'd say, bunch of years that we were on the radio and other people interviewed him and everything else. So anyway, please go to www.americasoldout.com. Let's see this. This is from Thomas. He said, in answer to your question, the need for fingerprinting at the airport is so that in future this can be used to include the fingerprinting of Americans who travel. Here in Texas, we have to thumb scan to get a driver's license, and now they have thumb scanners in the supermarket. The powers that be intend to control your ability to move about and to buy food. This is just another brick in the wall. Sorry for the poor grammar. Hey, listen, we might as well use the grammar we're given, since modern society seems to want to reinvent every word. Let's go to this. Let's see what this says. Oh, okay. This is kind of interesting. Dr. D says this. I believe and have believed for several years that Rome would be the location of a terrorist attack, and now feel strongly that the Parliament building in Rome would be the target, not the Vatican. By the way, Dr. D, the Parliament building in Rome is the ones that the Italians themselves are looking out after, and they believe that that's one of their prime targets. Okay, here's what Diana says. This, Steve, is to warm us up for when they start doing the same thing to Americans. Get used to the idea so we won't resist when it's our turn. Well, I've got news for you, Diana. Right now, there are, as in Texas, the thumbprint, the retina scan, well, it's quasi-voluntary. It will soon become mandatory, but it can't become mandatory until after the next big event. I'm convinced of that. Let's see this. That's off the subject. I got to stick with my subject. Okay, here's one from Shirley. By allowing third world immigrants into this country, it weakens it. This is discrimination against European people and has been for years now. That's really what I'm going for. And follow with my train of thought. If you're going to allow in revolutionaries, and look, I'm not talking about people that want to come to this country for a better life or anything, and I'm certainly no bigot, but what I am is a realist. And I can tell you this, that the screening process seems to be aimed at the wrong people, just like the whole war on terror has been aimed at the wrong people. Do you find it interesting, everyone, that the name Patriot Act was put out in everyone's face when there was a time when the word patriot, when I first started on talk radio, whenever, 1993, 94, the word patriot was an absolute anathema. It was a word of disgust. It was reinvented, and it was used against anybody that loved the country, loved God, loved the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, had a sense of nationalism, loved this country. And now, it's interesting, the Patriot Act is put out right in front of everyone's face, and no one's making the connection. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the world of, how should I say this, dark government, and by dark I mean the color of men's hearts, they are absolutely implementing the very thing that Albert Pike is on record as stating, that the secret society, in this case high-ranking Masons, would initiate the Third World War by pitting the Jews and Christians and Muslims against each other to prepare the way for Lucifer. The quote has been read in its entirety. I will put it up on my website. It's that important. But now, don't you think it's interesting that by allowing third world immigrants into this country and by making it so easy, those that want to destroy this country are giving a revolving